Hi everyone, welcome to TrainHR's live webinar on social media fraud threats to individuals and corporations and how to defend against it. My name is Liz and I'm going to be your host today. On behalf of the TrainHR team, I would like to thank you for being part of this event. Today's webinar will be presented by Peter Gottman. Peter Gottman is founder and president of White Collar Crime 101 LLC, the parent company of FraudAware and publisher of the monthly newsletter White Collar Crime Fighter. Peter has been the publisher and editor of White Collar Crime Fighter for over 12 years and is recognized as a leading expert in the areas of fraud detection, prevention, investigation, and training. He has written numerous articles on practical approaches to fraud prevention and detection. In addition to directing the ongoing development and refinement of FraudAware, Peter continues to publish White Collar Crime Fighter and to speak at events sponsored by the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, the International Association of Financial Crime Investigators, National White Collar Crime Center, and numerous industry trade associations. Peter, a certified fraud examiner, holds a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Michigan and a master's of economics from the London School of Economics. We are honored to have such a distinguished person such as Peter Gottman with us to present this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, I would like to inform you of the program outlined for this training session. This webinar is for 90-minute duration. First, Peter will take you through today's webinar, highlighting the areas that will be covered, and he will then share with you his presentation. I would also like to inform you that all participants, once they are part of this teleconference, they have been placed on mute and will remain so until the Q&A begins towards the end of this webinar. This is for the purpose of avoiding any kind of discontinuity and for allowing the presenter to speak clearly so that everyone who is present in this webinar can take maximum benefit from this. I also request all to hold back your question until the Q&A window begins. 10 minutes of time will be allotted for the Q&A, during which your question will be answered. And ladies and gentlemen, if for any reason you get logged out of this training session, I request you all to follow the same procedure to join in again. Now that we are all ready to start, I request Peter to take it from here. Peter.
Thank you very much, Liz, and I'd like to welcome everyone who is joining us today for this presentation. The topic is rather a fluid one, I guess you could say, in that, as you can imagine, the whole area, the whole world of social media is changing rather rapidly, and it is expanding pretty rapidly, as I'll show you shortly in some statistics. You have in front of you on your screen today's agenda. This is a general outline of what I'm going to cover for you, and as I mentioned, we'll start with some general fraud statistics, which will provide some background and perspective on just how serious the fraud threat is in general and how specifically the social media related fraud threat is. Then we'll talk about social media fraud against individuals, and we divide that up against social media fraud against organizations. But I will tell you at this point, and it will become clearer to you as we progress, that the line is kind of blurred in many areas. The distinction between social media use by fraudsters against individuals is often interlaced with the use of social media in committing fraud against organizations. But I'm going to try and make this as clear as possible to help you understand which specific types of fraud are at work in each case. Then we'll talk about how, quote, E-fraudsters, these are online fraudsters, exploit Facebook and other social media sites to commit fraud, and how to monitor social media sites for signs that fraud may be being committed against you or your organization, and how to reduce the risk of fraud victimization, which will be sort of the concluding important message that I want to share with you. There are, in fact, effective ways to minimize the risk of victimization by these numerous and rapidly growing number of anti-fraud, of social media fraudsters. If you do have questions, we will address those at the end of my presentation. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to jot those down as we go along, and you'll be able to share those live with us at the end. So moving into the substance of today's presentation, as I mentioned, we have a number of statistics to help understand exactly how serious the fraud problem is. In general, the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, a organization based in Texas with about 60 or 70,000 members who are in the profession of detecting, preventing, and investigating fraud. They do a lot of research, and they came up recently with this staggering statistic that fraud costs internationally $3.5 trillion in losses. Those are losses related to profits, the revenues and profits, loss of physical assets, loss of business due to reputational damage, which is often a byproduct of social media fraud, as you'll shortly understand. In general, that figure translates into a percentage of 5% of gross revenue lost to fraud in any given year. So you can extrapolate that, do the math for your own organization. It may be less, it may be more. That 5% is an average. One would hope that it's less, and those organizations with the most stringent anti-fraud controls in place naturally will be the ones on the lower end of the loss spectrum. The average cost for each incident of fraud, according to the association, is about $160,000. Now, that accounts for frauds in the, quote, low dollar category, such as employee travel and entertainment expense reimbursement frauds. Those average in the low 20,000s, but it, on the high end, incorporates the frauds that cost the most to the victim organizations, and those are financial statement related frauds, accounting frauds that can be in the multi-millions of dollars in losses. Moving into the area of social media, people who have been victims of identity theft are as likely to be lax in securing their personal information online, which means they are most likely to be sort of lax about the security of their birth dates, their social security numbers, and other personal information, which I'm going to talk quite a lot about as we move along, while they're using online social media sites. In addition, 91% of online adults, and this, I apologize, this refers to American, U.S. online adults use social media on a regular basis. That's a pretty staggering figure when you think about it. It's just about everybody above the age of 18 is using social media on a regular basis. Probably everybody under the age of 18, it probably is even a higher percentage when you think about it. But we're going to be addressing issues related to adults because they are the ones who have most of the money in the family and are therefore the targets of criminals operating online through social media. Social media use has increased an amazing 356% in the U.S. since 2006. That's only 8 years ago. Think about that. And it continues to rise at a rapid rate. So what does that tell us? It tells us there are more and more victims available to the well-established and experienced online social media fraudsters. And that makes it increasingly urgent for us to understand how to protect ourselves while using social media. The fraud threat in social media, this is sort of the high-end introduction for you of what we're talking about with regard to social media in terms of how it works. In general, there's something called Web 2.0, and for those of you unfamiliar with the term, basically Web 1.0 was the first generation, if you will, of the Internet. And it was a wonderful tool that we all sort of, became enamored of, that allowed us to do Google searches and do all kinds of great research for college students to go online and not even have to go to the library. It was a place where we were able to access huge volumes of information and either download it or just read it or what have you. Web 2.0 is an advanced phase of Web 1.0 in that the web has become an interactive medium. That means that you're no longer just able to view information on the Internet or download it. You're now able to participate as an active Internet participant in the sharing